Running Scared by Lynn Cook, Chapter 2. The journey the following morning was as horrendous as Lee had anticipated. She was on the first train by 6:30 and only just managed to get a seat, which was more than she managed on the tube. Walking from the station, it could quite easily have been the middle of the day, as the street vendors were out in force, cabbies sounding their horns, buses pulling in and out of busy roads, and a variation of eating houses of all nationalities. The streets were becoming fuller by the second, with your white-collar workers armed with their briefcases and umbrellas, students with their dirty jeans and rucksacks, and of course the homeless population, some still asleep in shop doorways while others wandered aimlessly, with nowhere to go and nowhere to stay. London never ceased to amaze Lee, with so many people crammed all together, and yet all alone. Arriving at her new place of business, she felt the same exhilaration she had experienced on her previous visits. The vast marble-covered reception took up the entire ground floor with its security station, receptionist station, and lots of meeting points dotted about with low coffee tables that displayed an array of newspapers, magazines, and company literature. Tropical plants strategically placed made the finished article one that could not help but to impress. After introducing herself to one of the smiling receptionists, she was ushered to security for her photo ID to be issued. While waiting for this to be completed, she became lost in thought. The far wall had a huge board that displayed the company name, and underneath Sir Geoffrey Phillips, Chairman, and under that Gregory Phillips, Managing Director. Then under that were listed all the heads of departments and senior consultants. How long, she wondered, until her name would be up there? There was no rush, she reasoned. She was only 24. She could wait until she was at least 25. She smiled to herself, liking that thought. The first few weeks at Phillips flew by. The work, though different from that which she had previously done, seemed to her to be thrilling, and she couldn't get enough of it. She was based within the market research department, with one other co-worker by the name of Julie Taylor, who was the same age as Lee, but that was where any similarity ended. Julie was slightly taller, slightly thinner, with long dark curly hair never out of place. She dressed far more seductively than Lee, and always wore a full face of makeup. Their reasons for working could not have been more different either. Julie was strictly about doing the job to pay the bills. She had no interest in a career. As to her, this was all just a means to an end, as she would one day meet Mr. Right, get married, and have children. End of story. In the meantime, however, Julie had no problem filling her time with plenty of Mr. Right nows. Julie would gossip all day, but Lee felt in a harmless way, and despite all their differences, she couldn't help but like her. The current man of the hour was one of the accountants from the third floor by the name of Paul Wheeler. He would swan in from time to time, dark hair swept back, designer stubble on his face, flirting outrageously. But again, Lee couldn't help but feel he was friendly. She very much considered him a male version of Julie, so liked him too. Although Julie maintained that nothing had happened between them to date, she had him well and truly in her sights, and was decidedly hopeful. From a business point of view, Julie and Lee suited each other well. Lee couldn't get enough of the work to do, which Julie never objected to, as she was more than happy to fill her time with the more trivial parts of their day. She preferred distributing completed work intended for colleagues, and this could sometimes take her hours. At other times, she would be flitting around, getting lunches and coffees, or dealing with the more amorous members of staff that would saunter in from time to time, requiring assistance, but quite happy to waste their time doing it, and if a date came out of it, so much the better. Lee wanted no part of that aspect. It was late one Friday afternoon when Julie came rushing in with coffees she had left to go and get 40 minutes beforehand. "Guess what?" She seemed fit to burst. I give up. Lee wanted to finish what she was doing before going home that evening, so was not really interested in whatever trivia Julie had managed to uncover. "Bradley upstairs has just landed a new major. Isn't that fantastic?" she said excitedly. Lee stopped what she was doing and just stared at her for a second with a very puzzled look on her face. "I've never known you show concern for the company welfare before. Aren't you just full of surprises?" Julie brushed her hand through the air. "I couldn't give a toss about the company welfare, but I do care about the parties." She sat down and started sipping her coffee, looking deep in thought. "Now, I will have to plan my outfit carefully, and my hair. Maybe I should even get a few extensions put in. What do you think?" Lee frowned. "I haven't got a clue what you're talking about." "The party, of course, for Stephen Bradley's new major." Her voice was getting impatient. "Weren't you listening to me? Because this is important, Lee. We need to work together so Paul doesn't know what's hit him." "Then you're going to have to explain to me what Stephen Bradley bringing on a new major has got to do with you and Paul going to a party. And could you do it quickly, please, because I've got work to do." "Oh my God!" Julie sat forward in her chair, again looking fit to burst. "Hasn't anyone told you? Haven't I told you?" Lee let out a deep breath. "Obviously not." "I can't believe you don't know. I can't believe I didn't tell you. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Lee smiled and tapped her watch. Julie took a deep breath and her face grew serious, as if she were about to bestow the very essence of the Phillips' success. "Every time someone brings on a new major, Phillips throws a party. A sort of let your people meet our people, one big happy family kind of thing. They bring in caterers, cover the reception with balloons and shit, lay down a makeshift dance floor with music, and, of course," she beamed a smile, "a free bar." "Of course," Lee interjected, amused by her excitement. Julie ignored her sarcasm and continued. "There are the usual work hard, play hard speeches from God Almighty, thanking everyone for their continued hard work and support, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone gets pissed out of their brains and a good time is had by all." "I take it by God Almighty you mean Sir Geoffrey," Lee clarified. "Oh no," Julie looked a little hurt. "Sir Geoffrey is a sweetheart. God Almighty is Mr. Phillips Jr." "That would be Gregory Phillips?" Julie nodded and rolled her eyes. "God Almighty, a.k.a. He Who Must Be Obeyed." "I don't think I've seen him yet. What does he look like?" Julie shook her head. "You wouldn't have done. He's been in New York for the past month or so. Though it pains me to say it, the guy is actually quite hot. Well, very hot, in fact. But he is a complete tosser and a 100% working machine. He just has his air about him that quite clearly states that if it isn't work-related, he isn't interested." Lee shrugged her shoulders. "That's not completely surprising, I suppose. He is the managing director." Julie frowned. "It doesn't mean he shouldn't know how to let his hair down now and again. You hear real nightmare stories from people who work closely with him. Everything has to be just so, nothing but perfection. He works around the clock and expects all others to do the same. I'm telling you, the guy has no life." She got up and started gathering her things. "Also, he's only in his early 30s, I suppose. Handsome, rich, and yet single." Julie grimaced as she shook her head in sadness, as if to say what a waste, and added, "I think he must be gay." Lee's mouth fell open with a laugh. "Julie, that's an outrageous assumption. You have no idea what goes on in the man's personal life. Just because he's not married may just mean he's not the marrying kind. Maybe he's some huge playboy, and you just don't know about it," Lee countered with a smile. This time it was Julie's turn to laugh. "Wait until you meet him. You'll know within the first 30 seconds that he's no playboy." Lee shrugged. "I'll reserve judgment. When is this party likely to be?" "Usually about a month or so after the deal is done," Julie grinned. Lee rubbed her face in her hands. "Let's hope I found somewhere to live by then." "Still no luck?" Lee shook her head. "I'm registered with every agent within a 10-mile radius, and they either show me complete dumps or places you couldn't swing a cat in. The travelling is driving me insane," she let out an exaggerated moan. "Something will come up, babe," Julie comforted. "But talking of insanity, if I don't get out of here and get a drink down me, insane is exactly what I'll be." She stood and picked up her handbag. "Are you coming?" Lee half smiled. "I'll pass. I want to get this finished before I go." Julie smirked. "You know, it wouldn't kill you to get yourself a life," she teased. Have a good weekend, Lee. You too, Julie. Good night. It was 8 in the evening before Lee left the office, 9:30 before she got home. After a hot bath, she fell into bed completely exhausted. Julie had joked about her getting herself a life. Well, right now, she just didn't have the energy. Finding somewhere to stay in town had to become her #1 priority. She drifted off to sleep, resolved to spending all weekend scouring the internet. In no time at all, it was Monday morning. She was back on the same train, the same tube, and had been at her desk about an hour before Julie walked in. "I take it you have been home," Julie teased. Lee smiled. "For what felt like an hour or two, yes." "Well, I might have some good news for you. I spoke to my landlord yesterday." "He has something?" Lee couldn't keep the excitement out of her voice. "Even better, because the woman below me is moving out. We could be neighbours." Lee sat back in her chair. "Julie, I could quite easily kiss you right now." Julie shrugged. "You're only human. Hold on till you see it, though. I've said we'll go at lunchtime and you can decide from there." It was just what Lee had been looking for. Large bedroom, living room stroke diner, small but well-equipped kitchen and bathroom, and just 10 minutes walk from the office. Within 3 weeks, she had moved in. Although she was sad not to be seeing her home that she loved every night, the thought of not having to commute almost made up for that, and she couldn't have been happier. Things were definitely going exactly to plan.